everybody, and welcome you to this beautiful new facility that we're here to talk about today. This is Falcon Virtual Academy's blended facility. Thank you for coming out and be a part of it this morning. We have a wide array of guests here today. We have some honored guests, and we are really honored to share this time with so many different educational leaders, so many community leaders, principals from around the district, people from the state of Colorado, and our honored guest speaker, Susan Patrick from iConnect. We will get to her in just a few minutes. She's a tremendous advocate for what we do, and can't wait to hear what she has to share with us today. We realize that on a Friday, that this takes a lot of time out of everyone's schedules, and we understand that a lot of people in this room have schedules that even the best of the paparazzi couldn't keep up with. So we appreciate you fitting us into our schedules. We have a lot of people that we'd like to recognize just in general, but we have a few people we would like to recognize specifically. And in the front row, if we could just acknowledge you so everybody puts a name with a face. Don Beezer is here. He is our Chief Educational Officer. Brett Ridgway, our Chief Business Officer. Becky Carter has made a return. She is our retired Chief Educational Officer. We haven't seen you since you retired, so things must be going well. Or not, yeah. Tammy Harold is on our current Board of Education. Andy Holloman from our previous Board of Education. Thank you for coming back out. Miss Marie Lavier-Wright is here from our Board of Education as well. And Ms. Kim McClelland, which we will get to in just a few moments as well. So thank you for taking... Chris Wright, are you here? He snuck in the back so we wouldn't acknowledge him. Mr. Wright, thank you so much for being here as well on our Board of Education. We are also kind of honored to have K-12 in attendance with us today. They have brought some of their management team and sales team here and have really helped us put together this breakfast this morning and the luncheon that will follow, and have really been tremendous supporters of what we do from the time we sat around a table and said, hey, maybe we ought to think about this. They have really been there to support us through this entire process, not only through just academic support and through kind of emotional support at times when we kind of needed some help getting through this. So we truly appreciate K-12 co-sponsoring this event with us. So can we have a round of applause real quick for K-12? Innovative, relevant, and personalized are kind of the foundational beliefs of what we do here at Falcon Virtual Academy. That's what we invest our daily practices in. But today is a little bit more than that, and what I want to kind of focus on today is a little bit about inspiration. And I think that's what really kind of sums up where we're at today. Inspiration is this incredible effort that our teachers put forward on a daily basis that work with our kids, not only in academics, but in family crises and whatever comes to the table. And I see them doing such an incredible job on a daily basis. Sometimes our teachers and staff don't get the acknowledgement that they deserve as well. So let's kind of give a quick round of applause for the inspiring teachers that we have here and the amazing things that they're doing with our kids. Inspiration also comes from knowing some things that a few people don't know. A lot of us in this room know what an online world is like, but many people outside of this room don't understand the relationships that you can actually build in a virtual world and the connections that you can make with kids in this environment that are much deeper and much more connected than a lot of times I've seen happen in brick and mortar schools. So I'm inspired on a daily basis at how well we know our kids by their first names, by their aunts and uncles' names, by their cousins' names that come in. It's truly amazing. I think that my inspiration comes from walking into a school like this every day and truly having the ability to work with kids and knowing that the decisions we make are based on kids, not based on the needs of adults. And that is truly where we stand and hang our hats in this building. Inspiration comes to me from looking back at the last year of our lives and remembering what it was like a year ago when we were sitting and talking about these things. And I remember a frantic phone call from Kim McClelland who called me and said, I found an empty warehouse. You need to get over here and look at this thing. I think I found our new building. And I know Mr. Holloman was with her, and it was kind of this unbelievable moment when you're like, really, a warehouse? I see it. We get it. We saw it, and we had the support of some tremendous people that allowed this to emerge. So I think that finding that building truly allowed us to kind of reflect on about what's possible when there's potential there and when you have the support mechanisms in place to move you in a direction that challenges the status quo. And I think that's what we're doing in this building. Finally, I really kind of want to talk about, the inspiration that comes from the family atmosphere that we provide in this building. And you will feel a sense of love and commitment out of our families, like you do in all schools. We understand that. But this building allows us to dedicate huge amounts of time and energy to our passions. And a lot of times, you're not allowed to do that in life, to invest everything that you have into a passion and a direction and a vision that we have been afforded. And we are very thankful to our community and to everybody that had a hand in making this happen. So thank you so much to all of you who have been involved in this. I know that we have our staff in attendance, we have district administration in attendance. Some of us have personal families that have decided to attend as well today. Kim McClelland's family is in attendance as well, as some of our staff members' families are in attendance, as well as some of my own family members. And in education, you don't generally get a lot of opportunities to do that. So I think as we kind of reflect on the school today and we appreciate what we have, we want to dedicate the school to kind of all of our families that we see on a daily basis, that we work through truly like we're all kind of extended cousins, really. And really, this school is about D49 families that need other options. And there's a tremendous commitment to not one size fits all. And that's truly what this school provides. And I think in honoring our families and honoring all the people that are a part of this, I'd be remiss if I didn't kind of thank publicly some of those figures who have kind of inspired me, myself, and probably you in the same environment, and created this passion, this dedication, and sometimes this ridiculous intensity that we put into our schools and the amount of time that we spend working on things. But I think it's important to recognize, a lot of that comes from somewhere, and what our families are doing for our kids in setting that example, being actively involved in what they do academically, and marching this mission together, it's incredible. And so from that perspective, I have an opportunity to tell you where my inspiration comes from and why I stand here today. And, it comes from places that you don't get an opportunity to say very often. I have a dad who is in the audience today, and if you ever get the chance to tell your dad, thank you for everything that you have done for me to get me to this point, take the opportunity to do it. And so that's what I am doing. He was a hardworking, funny gentleman who really taught me about work ethic. And so when everybody says, why are you sending emails at 4 o'clock in the morning, you can blame him. So it's that work ethic. And I think you also have to take the other piece of this, and that is the spouses that endure what we do in education. And education, I tell people consistently, it's not a job, it's not a career, it's a lifestyle. And if you're not ready for the lifestyle, you're not ready for education. And so in acknowledging my wife as well, when I tell her I'll be home, I'm walking out the door in a few minutes, she's come to expect after 20 years that means there's about a 90 to 120 minute window. So those people don't make this happen. We can't make this happen without those people behind us. So as we kind of move through today and you hear some wonderful things about the evolution of education, please remember what our core values are, and that is that relationships mean everything. That is what we are doing in this building to progress academically, and we are truly excited to have you tour this beautiful facility, hear what we're trying to do, and how we're connecting with kids. As we go through today, please kind of remember what today is about. This is about connecting. This is about finding those things that inspire you. So really utilize this time to talk with people, the educational leaders, people you don't get in a room very often together, and really kind of see what kind of amazing things are going on in education right now, and really network with the people that are here today. We will have a luncheon provided afterwards, so we expect everybody to stick around and be a part of that wonderful celebration. At this time, Ms. McClelland, would you please come up here? This is Ms. Kim McClelland. I'm sure everybody knows her. She is by far one of the most visionary and truly amazing people that I have really come across. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't have this written down, and I don't have some grand speech that I want to write about Kim because I want it to be true. There are very few people in the world that I absolutely would follow to the ends of the earth, and her visionary and ability to lead people and bring people together is beyond anyone I've come across, and I am truly honored to work with such an amazing leader, and this district has a tremendous person in Kim McClelland as our innovative leader and assistant assistant superintendent. So thank you so much, and I will give it over to her.
I'm much shorter than Dave, and he would do that because he knows what an emotional sap I am. Thank you, Dave. That really means a lot to me, and I couldn't have done this without you. Wow. This is a big day for me, too. But thank you, everyone, for coming to such an amazing day for Falcon Virtual Academy and for Falcon School District 49. We have a lot to be proud of. I want to welcome you to a school that is the future. But I also am very proud to announce and introduce someone who I have looked up to for many years. She may not know it, but I have. With being involved in online education, and I can't thank her enough for the time and commitment throughout the country that she's given in online and blended learning, and especially for being here in Falcon School District 49 today. Her efforts and advocacy in helping shape the future of what our students will experience in the years to come is something that we all can be very proud of. So thank you for your leadership. Susan Patrick is the President and Chief Education Officer for the International Association for K-12 Online Learning. iNACOL is the leading voice for the emerging field of online and blended learning. Representing a diverse cross-section of K-12 education, including school districts, educators, state education agencies, universities, education reformers, and a variety of content and technology providers, iNACOL serves the field through the education and advocacy aimed at building the capacity of online and blended learning professionals, publishing national quality standards, and shaping the direction of the whole field. In 2011, she was named to the International Advisory Board for the European Union Program for Lifelong Learning and Virtual Education, which I believe the European Union just received a Nobel Peace Prize today. She also, in 2008, Susan Patrick was named by eSchool News as one of the top 10 educational leaders who have had a profound impact on educational technology in the past for her work with iNACOL and the U.S. Department of Education. I am proud to announce Susan Patrick as our honored guest speaker today. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you so much for having me here. It is really an honor to be back into Colorado Springs, and I want to start by thanking all of our members of the military, those men and women who continue to serve, who serve our country and who have served. You may not know this, but my grandfather was a World War II pilot, and he was here in Colorado Springs to help when they started building NORAD. He was involved in the building of NORAD many, many years ago. He's still with us today. I still get to see him and spend time with him. And he has many fond memories of Colorado Springs, including many stories about the Golden Bee and other such antics. It's amazing to see what's changing across the world and across this country in terms of the future of education. We live in a very different era right now, and I feel so lucky to work with people across the United States, but also across the world, across the European Union, across Asia, across Australia, all across North America, in thinking through how we're going to help every single student be successful in their careers. In the world that they live in today is very different from the one that you and I grew up in. When I do a lot of school visits, I try to spend as much time as I can talking to students and to teachers, and when I try to explain to them that we had these phones where you had to stick your finger in and dial around, and if you dialed a 9 and a 0, it was one of those numbers that took a long time, or how the TV only had 3 channels, maybe 4, and you had this huge piece of metal on top of your roof that you worried about during a lightning storm, and you walk across the room and wiggle the knobs to just try to get some of the channels in. And the students look at me and they say, "You're joking, right? I mean, you're joking." So much has happened in a short amount of time. It's truly remarkable. And in my work, which I'm grateful to work for this nonprofit organization, I literally travel every week all over the country and all over the world talking to people about what the future of education looks like. And I can tell you from the work of Kim and Dave, the school board here in Falcon District 49, you are visionaries and you are providing opportunities here in Colorado Springs for kids that are world class. And so I thank you. It is really hard work to start a new learning model for kids. It takes complete rethinking about what do we need to do to make our kids successful for the future. What does a world-class education look like? What does that content look like? How do you move through it? How do we get our teachers trained to support? How do you ensure that new personalized learning opportunities that can maximize the strengths of every child and support where they are running into troubles, moving at their own pace? The importance of personalized learning is huge. If there's one thing we know about the way kids learn, it's that every kid learns in different ways and at different paces. And so to expect our traditional schools where you have a single teacher with a single textbook in a single period of time to be able to provide personalized learning for 20 kids or 25 kids is almost an insurmountable task. And there are a lot of amazing teachers out there, but why not rethink of the design around the student for how they learn best and then structure everything else around the kids? So I've traveled to 48 of the 50 states and I've been in numerous countries, and I know that when you're in your own community, in your own world, sometimes you might not know about what's happening in other parts of the world. And I was very lucky when I was at the U.S. Department of Education. I worked directly for the Secretary of Education, was charged with writing the National Ed Tech Plan for Congress. And in this plan, I had school doors open all over the country and visited with many ministries of education around the world to learn about what they're doing. And I'm going to share a few highlights with you. First is China. Remember the impression that we all had when we watched the Olympics that took place in Beijing, right? The Chinese government and people in China are on fire about being the most competitive, globally competitive and #1 country on the whole planet, and they are serious. Let me give you some ideas on the number. When I started talking to them about education policy, and this was in 2005, they had already digitized their entire K-12 content and curriculum, and they were working at what they call training master teachers to teach online. That is to use the tools that the computer affords in communication, take their best teachers and connect students across China, but even across the world, to give them access to global experiences in learning with students in different areas. Now, China's a very big country, with over 1 billion people. How many kids do they have in China that they classify as, quote, gifted and talented? It's 60 million kids. Do you know how many children we have in K-12 education in the entire United States? 50 million. We can't afford to lose a single kid here. We can't afford to maximize what every child can do. And in China, they have a goal to use online and blended learning to do what? To reach 100 million more students with a world-class education in the next 10 years. The ability for some of these other countries to scale up what a world-class education looks like, and how are they doing that? They're not doing it as a one-off, here's a blended learning opportunity here. They're doing it as a strategic plan across their whole country. The World Bank estimates that China has spent more on broadband infrastructure and access and e-learning, content, tools, training, structure than any other country on this planet. India is another great example. Back in 2006, I was on a panel with Shantanu Prakash, who is from EduComp, and the government in India was talking to him about their plans. They have a plan to offer universal access to K-12 education to all students in India in the next 10 years. In order to do that, they would have to build 200,000 new schools. They're not going to be able to do that. So using a combination of online learning and community-based locations, what are they doing? They're benchmarking international academic standards, digitizing world-class content and curriculum, training their best teachers to teach online so that they can do face-to-face teaching and teach distributed across India. And they had a plan to reach millions of students. So I was at Harvard just a few months ago at an international education conference, and who was there but Shantanu? And I said, Shantanu, how are things going with this EduComp project? And he said, it's amazing. In 6 years, we've reached 12 million students in India. So the lesson here is when I'm overseas and I get in an airplane and I come home and I listen to some of the education debates happening in this country, it really scares me, right? Yeah. It's a real concern. And all of this is about how do we ensure that every child has access to a world-class education. And there's a way we can do that. We actually have solutions at our fingertips. This country is full of people that love to innovate. This country is full of passionate teachers that love to teach. And this country is full of kids that have enormous potential, creativity, and aspirations to do amazing things. And we have to support every child on their journey. I love the theme that Falcon has in terms of every child is special. Every child is special, and we deserve, we must, it's a moral imperative for us to give a special education, not a special, individualized, personalized, taking advantage of every kid's strengths and supporting them as every child is special, and they learn at their own pace and their own way. So as we're rethinking education globally, there are some really good things happening in this country right now that I think even 3 or 5 years ago nobody thought would happen. And that is, we've got 50 states that have 50 state education systems, and we've always had 50 different academic standards in 50 different states, which I understand why that is. But when I would talk to people from the EU or China or these other countries, and they're like, why would you keep investing in reinventing the wheel 50 different times in 50 different states to do all of that? I said, well, we have to. Something really exciting has happened, though. And that is the governors in 46 states and the state chiefs. Amy Anderson is here from the Colorado Department of Ed. People like Amy and the chief in Colorado and her bosses, and they've all come together to agree to something that was unthinkable 5 years ago, to internationally benchmark world-class knowledge and skills in English, language arts, and math, so our kids will be able to compete globally. And that might not sound like a big deal, but it is a big deal for this country to have the bar raised. Thank you so much. You can tell I've got my Virginia humidity on these too. The bar raised, and what that common core of world-class standards means is that all of a sudden we can open up new personalized learning opportunities. So if you know that in English or in math that you have these very specific high learning targets, it shouldn't matter all of the different ways we can help students learn that material, gain that mastery, competence, whether it's in school or with digital curriculum or through extended learning opportunities like internships in businesses. When you can bring back those skills and knowledge and demonstrate that mastery, we can start looking at new next generation learning models. And that's a combination of using online learning and those tools and the ability to personalize, and the best resources of our communities, our cultural centers, our schools, our universities and colleges even. So in rethinking what the future of learning looks like, they're already doing a lot of this internationally. The EU has created competencies across pre-K, K through 12, higher ed, and even into the workforce, career, and technical. And those trajectories exist for kids. So if a kid wants to learn math and then go to the Louvre or do a virtual field trip to the Louvre and study the Mona Lisa and learn about linear equations, or if they want to learn about different trajectories, they can do that through these combinations of excitement. If your student's interested in sports, there's all of this digital curriculum and tools to tie that together. And when they come back to school, when they demonstrate that knowledge, then they get credit and their learning map gets filled. There's a lot happening with next generation learning. Our organization, iNACL, is part of a partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for Next Generation Learning Challenges. And we just finished giving out millions of dollars across the US for what we think is the biggest potential to help kids in the US scale up high quality advanced learning models. And those are whole new schools that are blended learning and that are mastery based. You're standing in one right now that exemplifies the future of education, not only in this country but around the world. And again, I can't tell you how proud I am of everybody who has put so much work into this, but also how you're going to help show the rest of your community here in Colorado Springs and Colorado what the future can look like, how we can better serve our kids. So I'll end on a note just saying that I've had some incredible interactions with people around the globe, and somebody I really look up to is a guy in England. His name is Stephen Heppel. His offices are actually in the London Tower, like in the London Bridge over the water. He gets there in a sailboat somehow. This is a really creative guy who thinks outside the box, right? And when he talks about what we need to do for learning, and he was involved, you might have heard about this. Tony Blair had this huge 90 billion pound, so that's like over 120 billion US dollars program over the last 10 years to rebuild schools of the future all over England, and they've been doing that, and there's some truly remarkable examples there as well. But Stephen Heppel says there's something really fundamental. There should be no limit. We should place no limit on how fast or how far a student can go in their learning. And that's absolutely true. So how do we design the learning experiences, the learning opportunities, and support kids to go as fast and as far as they possibly can go? We need to give every kid access to a world-class education. To all the kids, don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. There's so much there. I mean, both of my parents were first-generation college students who knew that education was going to change their future. If it wasn't for them, I applied to a lot of schools. I was on financial aid for 100% of my schooling, and I got into Colorado College. I never thought I would be able to afford going there, and I took a lot of loans to do it, and it was really tough sometimes. If I hadn't gone to Colorado College, I don't think that I would have had the opportunities that open up for me today. And no matter where that school is, whether no matter where it is in this country, in this state, going to college and going and preparing yourself for careers, it changes the way you think about the world. It changes the way that you can process information, and you can learn anything. And you can really learn anything if you learn how to learn and learn how to research and learn how to communicate and write. And I never thought I would ever travel internationally or do any of that, and I've been able just to meet with leaders all over the world in terms of education and what we can do for the future. So every day when I wake up, I think, what can we do to help the kids today? Because we can't stop. We cannot stop. We've got a lot of work to do, but I'm working with all of the pioneers, and I'm so grateful for that. All right. Thank you very much.